The world is waking up. But the question is, are you ready to see it? We've been living in a fog of distractions, conditioned by a system that thrives on keeping us asleep. For far too long, we've been tuned out, distracted by the noise, the fear, the endless chase for external validation. But that is not who we are. That is not why we came here. Deep within, there's a quiet knowing. A knowing that calls us to something greater, something more profound than the life we've been told we must live. And it starts with awakening to the truth of who we really are, beings of light, connected to the cosmos, equipped with an inner power that has been suppressed for far too long. As we begin to activate the dormant forces within us, we break free from the chains of mental slavery. The veil begins to lift, and we begin to see what's been hidden from us, our connection to the divine, our connection to each other, our connection to the earth and the universe. This is not just about spiritual enlightenment, it's about reclaiming our sovereignty. Reclaiming our birthright to be fully awake, fully aligned, and fully empowered. The awakening begins inside. It begins with you. And it is time. There exists within you a sacred key, a doorway to truth, intuition, power, and infinite connection. This very key lies within the center of your own brain, the pineal gland, the seat of consciousness, the so-called third eye. And from the moment you were born, forces have been quietly at work, trying to shut it down. The pineal gland is not a myth, nor is it merely a metaphor. It is a small, pine cone-shaped organ nestled deep between the two hemispheres of your brain, precisely where ancient mystics and neuroscientists believe perception, awareness, and spiritual insight originate. Across cultures and across time, this gland has been symbolized as the bridge between the physical and the divine. Ancient Egyptians carved it into the eye of Horus. The Hindu tradition speaks of the Ajna chakra, the third eye of perception and wisdom. René Descartes, the father of modern philosophy, called it the seat of the soul. Yet in our modern world, few even know it exists. Fewer still know its power. And even fewer question why it has been so aggressively targeted, coded, calcified, and chemically muted since childhood. Fluoride. It's sold as a protector of teeth, a harmless additive to our water supply, a modern miracle of dental health. But dig deeper, beyond the surface of mainstream health narratives, and a more troubling picture begins to emerge. Fluoride, particularly in its synthetic form, sodium fluoride, is not a mineral that supports life. It's a byproduct of aluminum manufacturing, historically used in rat poison and insecticide. And when it enters the body, it accumulates in the bones and brain, especially in the pineal gland. Multiple scientific studies, including work by British scientist Dr. Jennifer Luke, have found that the pineal gland absorbs more fluoride than any other soft tissue in the body. It calcifies the gland, turning a once spongy, light-sensitive, bioluminescent center of perception into a hardened, dull, and dormant lump of tissue. Think about that. The organ responsible for your deepest clarity and intuition is being chemically sealed shut. Now ask yourself why? Why would governments across the world continue adding fluoride to the water supply, despite growing controversy, scientific pushback, and the fact that most developed countries have banned or discontinued this practice? The answer, some say, is control. Not in the cartoonish sense of evil villains twirling mustaches, but in the very real, deeply orchestrated effort to maintain a society of obedient, disconnected, spiritually asleep individuals. Because those who are asleep are easy to manage. They comply. They consume. They obey without question. But those who are awake, they question the narrative. They sense truth without being told. They radiate power that cannot be bought, silenced, or contained. But fluoride is only one weapon in this silent war. The modern world is saturated with distractions and poisons, many of them aimed directly at the mind and spirit. Processed foods, pumped full of chemicals that dull mental clarity and overwhelm the gut-brain connection. Electromagnetic frequencies, flooding every space with invisible static, disrupting the body's natural rhythms. Large media companies, endlessly looping fear and fantasy, distorting the subconscious into confusion and dependence. Pharmaceutical pills promising peace while silencing your soul. This is not by accident. There is an architecture to this matrix, a blueprint, and at the core of it is a belief held by the few who wield unchecked influence, that a spiritually suppressed population is a manageable population. Enlightenment is resistance. Awakening is revolution. And the pineal gland, the tiny, glowing seed of inner knowing, is the first target in the war against human sovereignty. But all is not lost, because even after decades of suppression, the pineal gland can be reawakened. And once it begins to open, the world will never look the same. They want you chemically subdued, emotionally distracted, and spiritually blind. They fear our collective power. Individuals who remember their divine nature are not easy to manipulate. And so, the subtle war continues, not with weapons or armies, but with toxins disguised as medicine, with lies disguised as science, with illusions packaged as convenience. The pineal gland is deeply connected to light, rhythm, and higher states of consciousness. It regulates melatonin, yes, but it also plays a role far beyond sleep. In ancient texts and esoteric traditions, the pineal was considered the organ of inner sight, the lens through which the soul glimpses higher realities. It's why temples were built in alignment with starlight, why sages meditated at dawn, why initiates fasted and purified before revelation. They knew that to access higher realms, the body's spiritual antenna had to be clear. But in today's world, that antenna is clogged. Not just by fluoride, but by a relentless assault on body and mind. From birth, we're exposed to a cocktail of heavy metals in baby food, vaccines, and genetically modified organisms that are slowly poisoning the brain. Even our air is saturated with nanoparticles and pollutants that slip silently into the bloodstream, reaching the brain with ease. Over time, the damage compounds. The signals from your soul get quieter. Your intuition fades. You stop questioning the system because questioning requires clarity, and clarity has been stolen. Meanwhile, those in control maintain the narrative that everything is fine, that these additives are for your safety, that your depression is just chemical, that your spiritual hunger is irrelevant. They want you medicated, distracted, consuming, believing that life is about survival, not ascension. But there's more. The media plays its part too. Every headline soaked in fear, every film laced with subtle programming, every story from large news, nudging you deeper into comparison, anxiety, and separation. This isn't random. It's a carefully crafted environment, one designed not just to keep you asleep, but to make you fear waking up. Because if you do, you might stop playing the game. You might remember that you are not broken. You are not powerless. You are not here to merely work, consume, and die. You are here to awaken. And the awakening starts with the pineal gland, with the reclaiming of your spiritual vision. You don't need chemicals. You don't need more distractions. You need stillness. You need light. You need truth. You see, calcification is not permanent. With intention and effort, it can be reversed. The body is intelligent and the soul even more so. Begin by cutting off what clouds you. Filtered water instead of tap, whole foods instead of processed, silence instead of noise. Clean the vessel. Breathe deeply. Intermittently fast. Return to the rhythms of the earth. With time, the fog lifts. Dreams return. Intuition sharpens. Synchronicities begin to unfold. It's not magic. It's biology aligned with spirit. And as the pineal awakens, so too does your perception of reality. You begin to see through the illusions. The systems of control become obvious. You realize the chains were always mental. That freedom isn't granted, it's remembered. This is why they fear the awakened. We do not need their systems to tell us who we are. We do not beg for validation. We do not accept war as peace or slavery as safety. We see with a vision they tried to blind. And once you see, you cannot unsee. This is not a theory. It is not paranoia. It is the quiet revolution happening inside millions. The collective remembering of what it means to be truly alive. And it starts not with protest, but with presence. Not with rebellion, but with realization. You are not alone in this. Across the globe, souls are stirring. The matrix is fracturing. The third eye is opening. And with it, a new world emerges, not one built on control, but on connection. Not one ruled by fear, but guided by awareness. And it all begins with the simple, sacred act of reclaiming your inner vision. This is the work. This is the path. And you are already on it. They told you the world was physical, tangible, measurable. That what you can see, touch, and buy is all that matters. But deep inside, you've always known there's more. A feeling, a pull, a whisper in the quiet moments that says, "Wake up." That whisper comes from the part of you they've tried hardest to silence, the pineal gland, your spiritual compass. And they know that if you hear it too clearly, their illusion begins to crumble. This isn't new. The suppression of inner vision has been happening for centuries, only the tools have changed. In the past, spiritual leaders and mystics were hunted, burned, labeled heretic. Now the suppression is clinical, sterile. It's in the food, the water, the medication, and the media. But the intention remains: to keep you asleep, cut off from your highest self. Why? Because enlightenment cannot be controlled. An awakened population cannot be led by fear. Let's go deeper. The pineal gland is sensitive not just to light, but to electromagnetic fields, vibration, even intention. It's a quantum receptor tuned to frequencies that most of the world has forgotten how to hear. Ancient traditions knew this. They used mantras, chants, sound bowls, and breathwork not as rituals, but as tuning forks for consciousness. Sound is frequency. Frequency is energy. Energy is information. And when you align to the right vibrations, the pineal becomes active, alive. It begins to glow from within, your body's own lighthouse to the divine. But today's world is full of noise, not sound. Frequencies that disrupt rather than align. The hum of power lines, the radiation of Wi-Fi, the pulsing of cell towers. Constant waves hitting your nervous system, disconnecting you from natural resonance. And when the brain is out of tune, the pineal can't function properly. It's like trying to hear a whisper in the middle of a thunderstorm. There's also the media. Not just what they say, but how they say it. Words carry vibration. Every news report, every fear-based headline, every addictive clickbait post carries a frequency, and those frequencies reinforce the lower centers of survival. Fear, shame, anger. Keep people in those states, and they stop reaching higher. They stop looking up. They stop asking who they are beyond the body. The pineal doesn't respond to fear. It responds to stillness, wonder, and truth. Even religion, in many forms, has been weaponized. Once pathways to divine connection, many institutions now teach separation. That God is outside of you. That salvation is external. That obedience is holiness. But ancient wisdom taught the opposite, that the kingdom of heaven is within. That the body is the temple. That awakening comes through inner knowing, not outer permission. And the pineal gland, your divine antenna, is the bridge. When you begin to clear it, you start to receive. Not just visions or dreams, but downloads of knowing. Insights that defy logic. A sense of timing, intuition, and awareness that transcends thought. The pineal is not just for seeing, it's for knowing. And when it activates, your entire life shifts. Patterns break. Synchronicities increase. Fear fades. Because you're no longer living from the programmed self. You're living from the cosmic self. They cannot allow that. Because when people start trusting their inner guidance more than external authority, control collapses. When millions begin living from truth instead of fear, the world they've built begins to dissolve. That's why the war is so subtle, so slow, so disguised. Because if it were obvious, you'd resist. But a chemical here, a distraction there, a lie dressed as science, over time, it works. Unless you wake up. And you can. Every act of awareness is resistance. Every time you question, you reclaim power. Every step toward health, clarity, presence, it reverses the spell. Nature is your ally. Sunlight, clean water, deep breath, silence. These are not luxuries, they are tools of revolution. So is fasting. So is movement. So is truth. You are not crazy for feeling what you feel. You are not alone in seeing through the cracks. What you're feeling is real. What you're sensing is ancient. And what's trying to awaken inside you is not just your third eye, it's your true self. This is what they fear. A human being who remembers. There's a reason ancient civilizations built temples aligned with the stars. A reason they mapped the cosmos onto stone. A reason they revered silence, ritual, and inner stillness. They weren't primitive, they were connected. They understood something modern science is only beginning to rediscover. That the universe is not a cold, random machine, but a conscious field of energy, and the pineal gland is how we interface with it. When fully activated, the pineal becomes a receiver of cosmic intelligence. It releases DMT, a natural molecule some call the spirit molecule, responsible for dream states, near-death experiences, and profound moments of unity. It allows you to see beyond the veil of matter, to experience the infinite, to remember who and what you are beneath the programming. This is not myth. It's biology. It's real. And it's yours by birthright. But if they can shut down this gateway, they cut you off from that knowing. If you cannot access the infinite within, you become trapped in the finite without. You look to systems to tell you who to be. You accept limits as laws. You believe the illusion of separation. And you forget the most powerful truth of all, that everything is connected and you are part of the whole. A society disconnected from the pineal gland is a society easily ruled, easily sold, easily divided. But a society in touch with its third eye becomes something else entirely, sovereign, aligned, unstoppable, because it no longer plays by the rules of fear. It sees with clarity. It creates with intention. It lives from love, not lack. That's why they invest so much in keeping you asleep. It's not just about money. It's about energy. Human attention is a resource. Your consciousness is valuable. Your creative power is immense. And when that power is fragmented, when it's distracted by fear, gossip, consumerism, and division, it fuels a machine that feeds on your unconsciousness. But when that power is focused, centered, awake, everything changes. You begin to see how the world really works. You notice how institutions profit off your pain. How narratives are shaped not for your benefit, but for your obedience. How fear is the currency of control, and how easily it loses its grip the moment you stop feeding it. This is why awakening the pineal gland isn't just personal, it's revolutionary. It's a shift from external dependence to internal truth, from being told who you are to knowing who you are. And when enough individuals make that shift, the collective shifts too. Systems of oppression crumble not because we fight them, but because we no longer need them. We outgrow them, we evolve beyond them, and that evolution begins inside, through breath, through silence, through the reclamation of the present moment. You don't need permission to awaken. You don't need a guru or a savior. You need to listen to the voice that has always been whispering beneath the noise. That quiet, persistent truth that says, you are more than what they've told you. You are divine. You are limitless. You are remembering. And every step you take toward that remembrance weakens the old world and strengthens the new. The systems built on lies cannot survive a population that sees clearly. The walls of control cannot hold back those who've realized they were never prisoners, they were dreamers waking from a spell. And now, the spell is breaking. This awakening is not loud. It doesn't march through streets or scream into microphones. It happens in the quiet, in the stillness, in the hearts of millions who are choosing presence over panic, love over fear, awareness over distraction. It's a subtle revolution, one that begins not with the fall of empires, but with the rise of consciousness. And at the center of this revolution is the pineal gland, the portal within. As your pineal reactivates, you begin to feel time differently. You no longer move by clocks alone, but by intuition. You sense energy. You read people. You perceive the truth between words. You begin to trust the nudges, the synchronicities, the gut feelings you once ignored. Life becomes less about force and more about flow. The world doesn't suddenly become perfect, but it becomes alive, intelligent, responsive. You realize it was never against you, it was waiting for you to align. This is the natural state of a human being, clear, connected, co-creative. The illusion was the disconnection. The lie was that you were powerless, that you were separate from God, from nature, from each other. And as the calcification begins to dissolve, literally and metaphorically, you begin to feel again. You feel the pain that was numbed, the joy that was hidden, the clarity that was stolen. And with that comes a remembering, I was never broken. I was always whole. And then you begin to see the system for what it is. A spell cast to keep you forgetting. A loop of fear, distraction, and dependence designed not to empower, but to pacify. It's not personal. It's systemic. It doesn't target you because of who you are, it targets you because of what you could become. A sovereign being, a clear channel, a conscious creator. They've tried to keep you small because they fear your expansion. They've sold you silence as comfort because they fear your voice. They've poisoned your mind because they fear your truth. But what they didn't anticipate, what they can never fully control, is the soul's hunger to awaken. That deep, primal yearning to remember. And that's happening now in waves. You're not alone. Around the world, people are unplugging from the matrix. They're asking different questions. They're choosing different paths. They're healing not just for themselves, but for generations before and after. They are turning inward, not to escape, but to reconnect. And they are discovering that the most radical act in a world built on illusion is to simply see clearly. This clarity is not given. It is earned. Through presence, through effort, through courage. Because waking up means facing truth, not just out there, but in here. It means letting go of the stories that kept you safe. It means shedding the identity that made you small. It means surrendering to something greater, not outside you, but within. And the pineal gland, when clear, guides you through that surrender. It becomes your compass, your receiver, your transmitter. It shows you the dream, yes, but also the dreamer. It reminds you that you are not just in this world. You are creating it. From that place, control becomes irrelevant. Manipulation loses its power. Because once you know who you are, no one can tell you otherwise. This is what they never wanted you to find. This is what they've worked so hard to bury under chemicals, noise, and fear. But it's rising, and nothing can stop it now. You are waking up, and as you wake up, you begin to realize something even more profound. Your awakening isn't just for you. It's for all of us, because each person who clears their vision, who realigns with truth, becomes a beacon. A signal, a frequency that ripples out into the collective, subtly reminding others, it's time. You're not just healing yourself, you're lighting the path for others to follow. Every insight, every act of clarity, every moment you choose presence over programming, it matters. It adds to the shift. And though it may seem invisible at times, its effects are undeniable. Just like the pineal gland, quiet and small, yet capable of perceiving infinity, your awakening is both intimate and infinite. There will be resistance. The system doesn't let go easily. As you rise, it may try to pull you back. Through doubt, through medication, through fear. But now you've seen too much, felt too much, remembered too much. The veil is thin, and what's behind it is beautiful. You may lose old parts of yourself in this process. Identities, beliefs, relationship. But you are not losing, you are returning. Returning to essence. Returning to truth. returning to the divine connection that was never broken, only obscured. And that connection is everything. It is the real source of peace, of strength, of knowing. It cannot be found in the systems they've built. It cannot be bought or taught. It must be remembered. And the pineal gland, that sacred key hidden in plain sight, is the gateway. They called it a mystery. They called it mystical. But it is natural. It is you. And as more of us awaken, the structures built on unconsciousness begin to tremble. They can't survive in the light of awareness. They need your fear to thrive, your disconnection to function. But as you reconnect, mind, body, spirit, they begin to dissolve. Not with violence, not with anger, but with vision. This is the quiet revolution. Not of war, but of wisdom. Not of power, but of presence. A revolution that starts with a whisper in the mind and ends with a roar in the soul. A revolution that does not demand the world change, but dares to become the change. This is your time. You incarnated now, in this moment of planetary shift, not by chance but by choice. You knew the world would be asleep. You knew the challenge would be great. And still you came. Not to conform, but to catalyze. Not to survive, but to awaken. You are the bridge between the old and the new. The link between matter and spirit. And your pineal gland, once dormant, is now stirring. The cosmic eye is opening. And with it, a new vision of what it means to be human. This isn't just your awakening. It's ours. And together we rise. So now the question is, what do you do with this awakening? You live it, breathe it, embody it, not as something separate from your daily life, but woven into every choice you make, every thought you choose to believe, every interaction you bring awareness to. Awakening isn't an escape from reality, it's the full immersion into it with eyes wide open. It's knowing the illusion and choosing truth anyway. It's walking through the matrix not to fight it, but to dissolve it with presence. This is where your power truly activates, not in knowing the system is broken, but in realizing you don't need it to be free. They conditioned you to think freedom was something external, but real freedom is internal. It's not about breaking out, it's about breaking through the layers of distortion, programming, and limitation that kept you from seeing yourself clearly. And what you'll find beneath all that noise is light. Pure, undeniable light. It's always been there. And your pineal gland, this crystalline seat of perception, is the lens that lets it in. It's how the divine communicates with you, through visions, intuition, dreams, synchronicities, through the moments you feel inexplicably guided. This is real. This is sacred technology within you. They can try to block it, numb it, mock it, but they can't destroy it, because the spark inside you is eternal. And now it's becoming a fire. You're no longer interested in playing small, pretending to be something you're not, shrinking yourself to fit in. That version of you was never real. It was survival, a mask, a program, and now it's melting away. What's left is raw, true, untamed, a soul unfiltered, a being who remembers. And as you remember, your presence becomes medicine. Your clarity becomes a mirror. You begin to awaken others not by preaching, but by being. By radiating a frequency that says, I see through the illusion and I choose love anyway. I choose alignment. I choose truth. This is what the awakening looks like. It looks like people returning to nature, saying no to toxins, saying yes to inner silence, turning off the noise and tuning in, healing generational pain, trusting their bodies again, listening to their hearts again. It looks like less consumption and more creation, less judgment, more compassion, less fear, more sovereignty. And no, it won't happen overnight. The world won't transform in a flash, but it will shift because you are shifting. One pineal gland at a time, the grid of consciousness on this planet is changing. It's not theory, it's physics, it's resonance. When enough individuals vibrate at a higher frequency, the collective can't help but rise. And that's exactly what's happening. The old systems are cracking, not because they're under attack, but because they can no longer sustain themselves in the presence of truth. Truth is a frequency. It cuts through illusion like light through shadow. It activates the pineal. It frees the mind. And most of all, it reminds the soul of what it came here to do. You came here to remember. You came here to awaken. And now that you are, there's no turning back. There's no turning back because the illusion no longer satisfies you. The distractions feel hollow. The lies echo with emptiness. And the more you align with truth, the more the world reveals itself, not as chaos, but as coded. Every experience, every synchronicity, every hardship even, becomes part of your reactivation. You're remembering. You start to see the divine pattern woven through the mess, the hidden purpose behind the pain, the curriculum of your soul disguised as the chaos of the world. And when you view it from the lens of an awakened pineal gland, it all begins to make sense. The veil lifts not just from the world, but from your story. You realize you were never here to be comfortable. You were here to grow, to evolve, to embody a new template of human consciousness, and not by bypassing the darkness, but by transmuting it, by alchemizing fear into wisdom, trauma into power, pain into purpose. That's the real magic. Not escape, but transformation. And you're not doing it alone. The more you awaken, the more you start to will to connect others, who see what you see, feel what you feel, and are walking the same path. They may not look like you. They may be scattered across the globe, but you recognize them by frequency, by heart resonance, by the light in their eyes that says, "I remember too." Together, you're forming the new grid, a network of awakened beings holding the vibration of truth, love, and liberation across the planet. This is the real resistance. Not violence, not division, but coherence, harmony, the restoration of the human spirit, the activation of a planetary consciousness that cannot be manipulated. They can't stop it, because this isn't a movement, it's not a trend, it's a return to nature, to truth, to divinity, and most of all, to you. You are the revolution, not the one who fights in the streets, but the one who heals in silence, who reclaims sovereignty, who wakes up and, by waking up, reminds the world that it was never asleep, it was dreaming. And now that dream is ending. This is the dawn. The light is coming from within. And so, as you stand at the edge of this great awakening, know this. You are not just a passenger on this journey, you are the creator. The pineal gland, that sacred gateway to higher consciousness, is awakening within you, and with it comes the power to see beyond the illusions. You hold within you the key to unlock your true potential, to align with the universe's cosmic flow, and to embrace the divine truth that has always been within you. Every step you take toward awakening ripples through the collective, lighting up the path for others to follow. The world may appear chaotic, but beneath the surface, everything is unfolding in perfect harmony. The light within you is part of a greater collective light, and together we are rising. Embrace the journey of remembering. Trust in your inner wisdom. Let the frequencies of love, truth, and consciousness guide you forward. Your awakening is not just for you, it is for all of us. Every shift you make, no matter how small, is part of the grand transformation taking place on this planet. Remember, you are the light. You are the change. You are the revolution. Now go forward in truth. Walk the path with courage, and awaken to the infinite possibilities that await you. The world is ready. Are you?